It was a quiet evening in the heart of London, and the streets were bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. Detective Arthur Whitlock, a man in his late 40s, with a sharp mind and an even sharper eye, stood outside the grand entrance of the Everley Art Gallery. The gallery, known for its exquisite collection of rare paintings, was supposed to host its most prestigious event of the year, the unveiling of the legendary Crimson Lady, a painting worth millions. But something had gone terribly wrong. The gallery was empty. Not a single guest, not a single painting, not even a single guard. It was as if the entire event had vanished into thin air. The only person present was a trembling young woman named Clara, the gallery's assistant curator. She had called Detective Whitlock in a panic, claiming that the gallery had been robbed. But when he arrived, there was no sign of a break-in. Everything was perfectly intact, except for the missing paintings and people. Detective Whitlock adjusted his hat and stepped inside, his keen eyes scanning the room. The gallery was eerily silent, the polished floors reflecting the dim light from the chandeliers above. Clara followed him, her voice shaky as she explained what had happened. Everything was ready for the event, she said. The paintings were hung, the guests were invited, and the security was in place. But when I arrived this evening to do a final check, the gallery was. The paintings, the staff, everyone gone. Whitlock frowned. No signs of forced entry? No alarms triggered? None, Claire replied. It's as if they all just disappeared. The detective walked over to the spot where the Crimson Lady was supposed to be displayed. The wall was bare, but there was something peculiar about it. He leaned closer and noticed faint scratches on the floor, as if something heavy had been dragged. He knelt down and ran his fingers over the marks, his mind racing. "Tell me, Clara," he said, "who had access to the gallery before the event?" "Only a few people," she replied. "The curator, Mr. Everley, the security team, and the art handlers. Oh, and the artist who painted the Crimson Lady, Mr. Victor Hale. He was here earlier today to inspect the display." Whitlock's eyes narrowed. "Victor Hale, you say? Where is he now?" Clara shook her head. "I don't know. He left shortly after his inspection." The detective stood up and began pacing the room, his hands clasped behind his back. Something about this case didn't add up. How could an entire gallery full of people and priceless paintings vanish without a trace? And why was there no evidence of a break-in? As he pondered these questions, his gaze fell on a small, inconspicuous door at the far end of the gallery. It was slightly ajar, and a faint draft was coming from it. Whitlock walked over and pushed the door open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down to the basement. "Stay here," he told Clara, as he descended the stairs, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The basement was dimly lit, with rows of shelves filled with art supplies and crates. But what caught Whitlock's attention was a large, empty space in the center of the room. The floor was covered in dust, except for a few footprints leading to a hidden door on the opposite wall. Whitlock approached the door and pushed it open, revealing a hidden passageway. He followed it, his heart pounding with anticipation. The passage led to a small, underground chamber, and what he found inside left him stunned. The missing paintings were there, carefully stacked against the walls. But that wasn't all. Standing in the center of the room was Victor Hale, the artist himself, holding a brush and a palette. He was surrounded by canvases, each one an exact replica of the stolen paintings. "Mr. Hale," Whitlock said, his voice calm but firm. "Care to explain what's going on?" Victor turned around, his face pale with shock. "Detective, I can explain." Whitlock crossed his arms. "I'm listening." Victor sighed and set down his brush. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just wanted to prove that my work was as good as the master's. I created replicas of the paintings and swapped them with the originals. The guests and staff were in on it. They agreed to help me stage the disappearance as part of an elaborate performance art piece. But something went wrong, and they all panicked and left. Whitlock raised an eyebrow. "So, this was all a stunt?" Victor nodded, his shoulders slumping. "Yes. I never meant to cause any harm. I just wanted to make a statement." The detective shook his head. "Well, Mr. Hale, you certainly made a statement. But I'm afraid you'll have to come with me. Theft and deception are still crimes, no matter the intention." As Whitlock led Victor out of the chamber, he couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Another mystery solved, thanks to his sharp instincts and attention to detail. But as he stepped back into the empty gallery, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this case than met the eye. And so, the legend of Detective Arthur Whitlock grew, one mystery at a time.